This is your October 2025 Toronto real estate market update. Average price dropping year over year, but inventory levels are also dropping, meaning the months of inventory is changing and more sales are happening. Now, October numbers were interesting to me because we actually had in the city of Toronto the most amount of sales we've had in a single month in 2025. But year over year, for every property type, home prices are down across the board. We're going to get right to it today, but please like this video, get subscribed. If you want to book a call with our team, we are very active in the Toronto market, and you can do that in the first link in the description. Let's go through all the numbers together. All right, so we're going to jump into our October numbers year over year. So first thing we're going to look at here in the 2025 category is the sales. So we had 6,138 transactions take place in all the different areas that the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board counts. Now, year over year, that was down almost 10% from at the same point in 2024. Now, people are going to forget this, but October of 2024 was looked at the time, at least, as like a rebound month. Sales volume jumped up significantly, and we actually ended the year fairly strong. And then January and February, fairly strong. Like things were moving pretty quick again. And then obviously we had our Canadian election, and then all the tariff stuff that's kind of led us all the way to today. So just keep that in mind. New listings up 2.7%, not a big difference there. The new listings actually for the past several months on a year over year basis haven't really changed that much. The reason why the active listings has grown is because a smaller percentage of the new listings are actually selling every single month. That takes us to the active listing inventory. Almost still 28,000 active listings compared to 24,000 active listings a year ago. So your active listings year over year is up 17.2%. Another thing to keep in mind is that number there, that 27,000 number, only about 10,000 of the listings are actually in the city of Toronto. The rest are spread out between Durham, York, and all the different regions. And this number used to be about 30,000 in the summer. So we've actually dropped off slightly from the higher inventory levels we saw in the summer, but dropping from 30,000 to 27,000 is still like on a historically high side for active listings sitting on the market. This is the number, the year over year number that I believe will make most of the headlines, is that average price was down 7.2%. Again, keep in mind that October month of 2024 was a bit of a rebound month near the end of the year with sales volume and prices ticking upwards. Still, your average sale price for the GTA is $1,054,000. So that's your year over year summary. Let's look at the different property types. Detached properties in Toronto, still 1.6 million. Your semis, a shade over 1.2 million. Townhouses at 890,000 and your condos at 699. Condo prices still are interesting to me, and I've said this a lot recently, but I'm showing you average price here because it's what's being reported. I don't really care about it. Average price doesn't tell us anything right now. There's too many variables and not enough sales. You want to use median or you want to use benchmark. But because the board does report an average price, let's at least acknowledge it, right? So this is where I want to show you kind of the difference of what the numbers are showing you versus the reality of the market if you actually looked at benchmark price. So your detached home year over year, they're 9%, where last month it was like 1% down, the month before is 10%. So we're kind of flip-flopping every month depending on what happened a year ago. Your semis were down 7%, townhouses down 14%. Like, do I think the average townhouse is down 14% year over year? No, I think there's very few amount of sales for townhouses, especially in the 416 area code. You can see there's only 250 that sold. And then again, on the flip side, condos only showing down 2.7%. I know for a fact condos are down more than 2.7%, at least on that year over year basis. But that is the general numbers you're going to hear from everybody. Let's get into the custom charts I made for this video. Look over the last 5 years of sales volume. So October of 2025, again, we had 6,138 sales in all the different areas. A little bit lower than we saw last year, but way higher than 2023, way higher than 2022. And that 2021 number is always just going to look silly for a long time until we're in 2026, and that is no longer on the board for the 5-year averages. Then it will start looking like, oh, things are looking okay. So reasonably encouraged with the sales volume being over 6,000 based on what we've seen so far this year. We haven't had too many months where that number has been over 6,000 transactions. Now let's take a look at new listings for the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. And this is where I'm showing you again, year over year, new listings has jumped up, but versus 2 years ago and last year, yes, it's higher, not significantly higher. I don't think the new listings necessarily is what's contributing to the active inventory being higher. It's just that most of these new listings, at least in Toronto, are condos, and they're not selling very fast. And that's why the inventory is building up with your new listings. Now let's take a look at active listings. So this is where you can see, you got the staircase going all the way up here, going back to 2021, under 8,000 active listings, 22, 14,000, 23, 19,000, and we are currently at 27,000 active listings. Even though it's lower than it was in the summer, that's still a fairly high number of active listings. Not too many times in the history have we been over that amount of active listings on the market. Now, let's talk about months of inventory, because this is what surprised me when I was running these numbers for today's video, is months of inventory dropped for all property types in the city of Toronto. So I was actually talking with one of my team members today, and I've been tracking the condo months of inventory like pretty in depth for a long time. I haven't seen it be under 6 in probably like 18 months. So, it doesn't mean that condos are just selling really fast again. It's a mix of more sales are happening and more properties are being taken off the market. But your months of inventory for condos is like, it's still very much going to feel like a buyer's market, especially if you have a smaller condo. But technically, you're in like the high end of a balanced market right now. First time I've seen condo inventory go under 6 in a long, long time. Condo townhouses are in balanced market territory at 4.4. Semi-detached properties only at 2.1 months of inventory. Still, even though prices have not been accelerating for semi-detached, the most in-demand property type, at least in the city of Toronto, based on what families want and how much activity we are seeing for those property types. Your detached homes is down under 4 months of inventory. Last month, it was 4.5, and it was as high as over 5 earlier this year. So that is dropping off. And then your attached row townhouse, which means a freehold property, but doesn't technically fall into detached or semi-detached, is sitting at 3.4 months of inventory. This, I guess, if you want to figure out when the market's going to bottom out, could be encouraging to you, but it only matters if these numbers stay like this or continue to drop off. And I actually do believe inventory will drop off in November and December, because it does every single year. So we're going to have to see what these trends look like moving forward. Now let's take a look at City of Toronto. What was on the market? So we had just over 10,000 active listings in the City of Toronto versus that 27,000 number I showed you, which is all the areas combined. And this chart's going to look like every time I've shared a similar chart this year. Here's what's going on. 55% of every listing on the market is a condo apartment, plus 7% of condo townhouses, putting over 60% of the market being condos. 27% of the market is detached properties. Semis are only 5.5% of the market. Attached row townhouse is 2.9% of the market. And then you've got your other category making up less than 1% of the market. We have a lot of condos for sale. We have a good amount, a healthy amount of detached home for sale. Definitely more than we are used to. No doubt about it. We have very few semis for sale. And that's what people want, because it's freehold but less expensive than a detached, especially in all the kind of prime neighborhoods of the City of Toronto. And then your condo townhouse and condo apartment make up the bulk of everything that is on the market right now. Let's take a look at home sales in the City of Toronto. And this is where you are seeing some encouraging signs for sales volume. So in October, we had 2,351 sales in the City of Toronto. That is the most amount of sales we have had in any month so far in 2025. So it was more than we had in May and June, and it was earlier in the year. We had a pretty good September, but October did beat September in total transactions taking place. Doesn't really mean anything yet. Let's see how we progress here. November is not going to beat October in sales volume. It never does, but let's see. Is it going to be similar to September? Because that would be an encouraging sign for sales bottoming out. Don't think prices are there yet, but just in terms of what is going on with sales. And the final chart I want to show you today is condo sales. Same idea, is we had the most amount of condo sales we've seen in a single month happen in October of 2025. The drop off we saw in August normally makes sense. We jumped up a bit in September, but condo sales over 1,000 in October. The only other month we saw this year that went over 1,000 was that July month, which was surprising to a lot of people at the time. Dropped off again in August. September was okay. And again, these are not huge numbers. It's not like sales volume is up 30% month over month. Not at all. But the most amount of sales happening in October is not like, it's not that normal. Normally that would be September month or be earlier in the year in an April, but we've had a bit of an odd year. So the year over year numbers are going to show you what is the truth, even if the average price kind of distorts it. Even if you looked at benchmark price, it would show you that property values are down for most asset classes versus the same point last year. That's just the reality. If you look on a month by month basis, what we are seeing is that inventory levels overall are coming down slightly, not a ton, but coming down slightly. But the months of inventory and the absorption rate is also dropping across the board here. And the sales volume is picking up a little bit. Best month we had this year, not saying much because it's been a slow year in terms of sales volume. Maybe this is step one into the future. Maybe this is a blip. Maybe we're going to see the same thing that we saw before, where all this inventory just comes back to the market in early 2026. I'd love to know what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something new today. My name is Tom Storey. And remember, home is where your story begins.